time for Pod of the Dead.
Good Lord.
I already do. I have my iPhone open.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to give up good stuff.
Well, yeah,
We're talking about that could be added to it.
There's no good stuff on this podcast. There's no good stuff. Granted, I guess we can just kind of get into it and everything before I start talking about anything that I guess matters. Hello and welcome to Pod of the Dead. I am your host, Nicholas, and with me as always are the two final girls, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello.
On today's episode, we are watching the 2017 Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Get Out!
Yes, that's it.
How long have you been waiting to do that, Nick?
I know. He's preparing for that.
A little bit, just a little bit. Like, it just...
Yeah.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah.
So, coming into our homework today, what history did you girls have with this film?
I've seen it before. I thought I had seen the whole movie. Turns out, shocking, I fell asleep about 2/3 of the way in. So what I thought was the ending was not, which I was fine with.
It was the first 5 minutes of the film.
I made it about 1/3 of the way in because I was talking to Drew about it, and he was like, "I don't think you watched the whole thing. What do you remember the ending being?" And I told him, and he was just like, No, not even close.
Well, yeah, the ending where they got iced tea. That was the ending, right? Yeah, no, that wasn't the ending. Oh. Sorry.
Yeah. I heard about this movie a bajillion times. I never seen it. So I knew it was a controversial movie in some circles, and I was excited to watch it. So
yeah, when this came out, it basically like blew up. Like this was like everywhere. Some of it has to do with the content in which it talks about. Also, first-time director and writer for this. We will get into all that. But Tasha, do you want to tell us what Get Out is about?
Sure do. Get Out is a 2017 American horror film written, co-produced, and directed by Jordan Peele in his directorial.
Okay. So Jordan Peele from Key and Peele. Also, one of Key and Peele, one of their earlier things was they were in the music video for Weird Al Yankovic's White and Nerdy.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So yes, Jordan Peele, go on.
I know Key and Peele from obviously Key and Peele, but also Keegan-Michael Key used to be on a pet comedy show that was kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos back when I was a kid. So I have a long history with his partner. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Lakeith Stanfield, Bradley Whitford, and Catherine Keener. The plot follows a young black man, Kaluuya, who uncovers shocking secrets when he meets the family of his white girlfriend.
Yeah, that kind of touches on a little bit of what this film's about. This is definitely it's hard in this day and age to not see trailers and stuff like that. But this film is definitely one of those movies that's better if you don't see the trailers, because I do remember when the trailer came out for this, it kind of gives away. It doesn't give away the elephant in the room, but it gives away some stuff that you're like, oh, okay, like sinister happenings and whatnot.
Well, I mean, it's a horror movie, so you have to expect some sinister stuff happening. You're going away to somebody else's house. Bad things are going to happen.
But it removes the wool from the wolf in a sense, where you're just like, oh, like this person isn't a good person or stuff. Yeah. That being said, I do have a few other alternative overviews of this film.
I'm ready.
All right, you girls ready for this?
No, probably not, but do it anyway.
Ready.
After random objects falling from the sky result in the death of their father, ranch owner Chris Washington attempts to capture video evidence of an unidentified flying object with the help of a tech salesman.
Is that Nope?
Is that the? Yeah,
Yes,
that's what
it
I was
is. That
thinking.
is Nope.
Yeah.
Yep. Daniel Kaluuya,
Yeah.
I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's the guy that plays Chris in Nope, our main protagonist. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Saw that in the IMAX. It's very good.
That is another Jordan Peele film.
Okay.
All right, on to round 2.
Oh no.
Chris Washington is a 27-year-old man whose father is the head of a major hotel chain. Even though he is groomed to replace his father, who is about to retire, Chris is extremely immature and unmotivated in life. When his father considers making Dean Armitage, who Chris despises, his new replacement, Chris decides to prove his father that he is capable of taking over. He must repeat grade school all over again.
Oh
2
my
weeks
gosh,
for each
Mr.
grade.
No.
In order
Billy
to
Madison.
take over the hotel empire. The further Chris progresses, the more Dean tries to derail him.
Billy Madison,
Madison, yeah.
because the dad was
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
Dean Armitage is played by Brad Whitford. So, yeah.
That one took me a long time to get to
I
it.
didn't. He was halfway through it, and I was like, "That's Billy Madison."
Well, you just wait till the whole thing's read out. The listeners at home.
Sorry, I know.
No,
I can't help it. It's kind of like one of those things. If you can answer it sooner, you should answer sooner. I'm trying not to. I'm sorry.
All right. Dean Armitage, the owner and founder of Globo Gym, would love nothing more than owning Average Joe's Gymnasium. Chris Washington doesn't want to lose his gym to Dean, but can't find a way to get $50,000 in time. Chris and his gang of gym buddies think of ways to raise money, finally settling on winning a bingo tournament. While Dean retaliates by creating his own bingo team to finish off Chris's team doesn't do too well, while legendary ADAA champ Patches O'Houlihan turns up ready to train them.
I know what this is. Yes.
Bingo.
So Stephen Root,
Okay.
the blind man in this film, he's the guy that's like reading all the weird sports magazines and stuff. And yeah. So.
Yeah, he's like, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah.
Well, that's Rip Torn. That's Rip Torn.
Oh,
but
that's
yeah,
the guy that's in this movie too, though. Right?
No, Rip Torn's not in this.
Are
No,
you sure?
no. Stephen Root, the blind guy, that's the guy in Dodgeball that's like, hey,
Oh,
Peter,
you're right, yeah.
check out this magazine. He's got like the Asian
That's
wife
right.
that hates him.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, so.
Oh my gosh, that was great. That
Those
was my
were
favorite one
good.
so far. Those were good. Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
one was
Thank
really good.
Yeah, it was a toss-up between Dodgeball and Office Space because Stephen Root also plays Milton Wadhams in
okay.
Office Space.
Okay.
So,
that was
all right,
hilarious.
so this film came out in 2017. What do you think its budget was? Now, mind you, I'll give you a little insight. It was distributed by Universal. That does not mean that it's a high budget. Because the production company was Blumhouse, and Blumhouse, I believe his name's Jason Blum, the guy that owns it and stuff, is really big on giving quote unquote smaller budgeted films a huge chance. So you come to Blumhouse and you've got like an interesting idea. It's like, yeah, sure, why not? We'll fucking try this. And
I wouldn't
that's
have,
how.
yeah, I wouldn't have thought this had a big budget anyway, because I mean, it just kind of takes place in a house. I mean, it's not like we have a lot of special effects that are coming into play. The horror here isn't graphic in the sense of what you would expect. So,
Well, I mean, like last week, that film wasn't graphic or gory or anything.
that's
so,
the week before.
This is the goriest film we've ever covered.
I do have a question before we get into budget about the production companies. So this also was with Monkey Paw, which is Jordan Peele's production company, a smaller company. Drew and I were having this discussion. So if you said Universal was the distributor, Blumhouse was the production company, then what did Monkey Paw have to do with it?
They probably chipped in some, like Jordan Peele probably chipped in some money, and he's a co-producer and stuff like that. So like there are multiple producers on this, and producers are the people that quote unquote produce the product.
Got it.
Like that's where, you know, like you'll see like Universal, 9 times out of 10, they're just the distributor. Sometimes they're the producers, but they find films and they like, yeah, we can make money off this, and they get into the theaters and stuff.
Cool.
Blumhouse, stuff like that. They're the ones that are fronting the money to get the films made. Jordan Peele probably footed some of this money in here and stuff, got a producer credit, all that stuff. It's a whole shebang.
Gotcha.
Like J.J. Abrams has Bad Robot, I think it is. And so like there'll be films that are just like, it's got that label on it because he's got financial ties to this film in some way. Sometimes it's not even a financial thing. It's just name notoriety. Like Steven Spielberg, like you just slap his name, or Quentin Tarantino. So like they'll back it and stuff, but it won't necessarily. Sometimes it is with money, but sometimes it's not. It's just their name gains eyes. So there's that kind of stuff too. You see that a lot in horror. Though, where like if you get some like bigger directors and stuff like that, or even producers, it'll just be tied to like from the producers of, and it'll say these other films, because it's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm watching. Oh, but I do like those other things. It might not be directed. It's not the same director. It's not the same actors, but these people liked that other movie enough to push it. They like this one. So it's kind of that shit.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, what do you think that budget is?
I think that budget is $3.5 million. I don't know. Not confident.
1.5.
Tasha's closest, $4.5 million.
Oh, okay. That's still higher than I expected. Okay.
Yeah. I definitely probably talking out of my ass and stuff, but I think a lot of Blumhouse's stuff, Blumhouse, however you want to pronounce it, I'm going to be wrong either way. It doesn't matter. I don't see them like doing much over $5 million for like quote unquote entry level. Like, no, you have no quote unquote directorial experience. You've not put out films. It seems like that's kind of like we'll put up $5 million and see what happens.
Gotcha.
Because more likely than not, it'll have that tag on it, that Blumhouse tag, and people will be like, "No, I want to check it out."
Yeah.
To the point where we will watch stuff and that'll come up, and Wesley will know already. He's like, "Oh, Blumhouse, we've watched stuff from this." Like,
yeah.
So he's picking up on that, and that's a thing. Like, like it's no different than a record label or anything like that. Like, I like other stuff from this clothing brand or whatever, So it came out 2017 on a $4.5 million budget. What do you think it brought in at the box office?
A lot.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
It's a weird number.
I know. It's a crazy number.
I mean, technically, there's an infinite amount of numbers, so there is a number just called a lot.
But would there be a number that has... But it's not a number. It's a word.
Well, 1 million. If it's infinite, every combination of every letter of everything would exist.
Wow. Anyway, I say it was $32 million.
67.
Right. Damn, you girls are just lowballing the shit out of this film.
Really?
It made $255.4 million.
Oh my gosh.
Is this the largest grossing movie we've covered?
No. I don't have our history up right now, but like A Quiet Place made a fuck ton of money.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I remember that. Oh no, God, The Exorcist.
Oh yeah, that's like one of the highest grosses movies ever.
Forgotten about that one.
You love that film. He loves it.
How could we forget?
I know.
I forgot because I drank that part of my brain away. So, 2017 for horror films was actually a pretty interesting year. We got The Ritual, which came out. It's a Netflix original.
Oh.
It comes at night, which is an A24 film. Mother by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh.
Yeah, you've seen Mother.
That's a good
one. Jennifer Lawrence in it. We've also got, let's see here, Leatherface came out that year. Alien Covenant.
Okay.
The first part of It came out that year. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of decent. Yeah, it was a decent year for horror.
I haven't watched hardly any of those, so that's okay.
I have seen, I think, every single one that I said. Gerald's Game came out that year, which is a let me think here. I believe that's a Netflix original, and that's by Tasha's man. What's his name?
Yep.
Mike Flanagan.
There you
There
go.
it is.
And isn't that also a Stephen King adaptation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all Mike Flanagan really does. It's just Stephen King. Adaptations of Stephen King. Except for I heard that he has gotten they're giving him the reins possibly to make a new Exorcist. Tasha, are you excited? They're
No.
going to do another Exorcist, and your boy Mike Flanagan,
Nope.
Mikey F, going to be on that Exorcist.
No.
I mean,
I'm
it's
not.
realistic. Honestly, it would probably be better than the original.
But they're all the same movie. Like, I don't
That's
care
true.
to watch an exorcism movie in general, let alone a remake of an old one.
Except maybe The Conjuring. I liked that. That was an Exorcist movie.
I mean, it just has to have a fresh spin on it for
Yeah.
me to be. I mean, okay, so here's an Exorcist film that you don't think we're completely off topic. Well, not really, but fucking Constantine is technically a superhero exorcism movie.
That
and
movie's amazing.
That movie slaps.
Okay. Yeah,
So
you're right.
It just has to have something like, I don't want a preacher walks in and gives last rites. I mean, technically, if you go back a couple episodes, the Black Coat's daughter kind of has that in there. I love that movie. You girls,
Yeah,
maybe not
dude,
so
we
much.
had a stint of like 3 movies back to back that were possessions. It was rough. But yeah, I don't
some
want
of
a
them are
kid
better than
strapped
others.
to a bed. I don't want a priest just showing up with a Bible. Like, I don't want someone just speaking in tongues. Like,
Oh, God knows I do. Bring on the
bring
tongues.
the tongues.
You're ridiculous.
So, like this film is very divisive with, I want to say, the populace because of its social commentary. If you have not seen this movie and you're not aware of it or anything, this movie, I don't, what's the wording of it? It's not that it's heavy-handed, but it doesn't shy away from the fact that this movie's kind of driving force is dealing with race.
Well, yeah, that's the whole premise of the movie.
Well, I understand that, but if you don't know what this movie's about,
yeah.
that is the through line of it.
Yeah.
And but the thing that I think a lot of people miss in this film, though, where like some outrage comes because there are people that hate this movie because of that, is that there's also a lot of comedy in this film, and it's poking fun. Like there are some very real emotions that are on display here for certain characters and stuff, but also like it even shows, like when you look this film up like on Google and stuff, that this is a horror comedy. Like Jordan Peele comes from a comedy background similar to Zach Krager, who was our writer director for Barbarian, where it's just like it's got like these kind of outlandish parts and stuff in there that it's horror, but then like we're going to break that tension, because if we make this film just bleak the whole way through, no one's going to have fun.
I think I think Get Out did a better job of that comedy aspect of it. In Barbarian, it was just weird, but there are some clear, overt, hilarious parts in Get Out.
2 different kind of comedians.
Okay.
So you gotta like, it'd be similar to being like, George Carlin and I don't fucking know who's Jeff Dunham, like some like puppet comedian, and then like a super like anarchist almost, like so like
I get you.
all over the place. So comedy is I'm gonna say it wrong, subjective.
You're right.
Is that right?
Yep, that was right.
Hey, I did it.
Words.
But some people fucking hate this movie for that, which I've got a problem with that. And then some people fucking love, like, put this as like the most important film that's ever been made in some regards because of that, and I don't agree with that as well. Like, at the end of the day, it's a movie that's supposed to be enjoyed in some aspect. And I think he does a good job in that, but I'm not going to get into review territory or anything like that, because we still have to get beyond the wall of spoiler territory and everything. So if you girls are ready to get into that, we can jump that fence and start talking about Get Out.
Let's do it.
Sure.
So Pod of the Dead is a horror film club. If you have not seen Get Out, it is currently streaming, I believe, on somewhere. I can't remember where we watched it. Peacock or Max or one of our internet overlords.
Peacock.
Yeah. Was it?
Peacock,
Okay.
there we go. But if you haven't watched it, check it out. It kind of been everywhere for the last 5 or so years.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care about spoilers, stick around. We're going to openly discuss this film and kind of, peel back the layers a little bit, see what's hiding underneath the mask, as it were. And we are going to really get into Jordan Peele's Get Out.
If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
All right, with that being said, give me that 1 out of 10.
Okay. It's like the shortest of short.
Yeah, okay. So, like I was saying earlier, there was a lot of people that loved this that also felt that it was supposed to be a dissertation, and people that hated it that needed it to be they needed to be heard and stuff. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. And the reason yours is short is because I had to proofread a lot this time, specifically because there was a lot of, let's say, some racist undertones on some stuff. And I'm not about that. So, and we're not about that. Pod of the Dead is not about that. So I just want to throw that out there. Also, I feel the need to say this. Okay. So, we are 3 white people.
Yes.
We are not here to say that we actually understand what it is to be an African American person and stuff like that. So take our comments with a grain of salt, because we have not lived that. So we're only going to be able to convey our view on the film. So.
But we are part of the population that acknowledges that we haven't and don't have that lived experience. So we don't believe in that whole world of if it's good for, I'm not even going to go and talk about what all of our fascists like to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about that. But we want to talk about something that maybe or watch something that we don't have actual experience in. So I think it was eye-opening and very uncomfortable just getting to see that aspect of it and try to really kind of put yourself as much as you can in that position to understand what this character is going through. So I really appreciated that about the film, and that's kind of why we're covering it. So, but yeah, I have our 1 out of 10 here, and again, it's tiny. So I'm glad you didn't give us something racial, racist on here to hey, this, and then
I'm not going to throw racist stuff in here for the lulz.
Okay. How in God's name can anyone say this is good? This isn't a review, more of a complaint. Okay. This is, again, preface 1 out of 10 here.
My cheeseburger was cold.
How in the hell does this fail grade piece of snot get such good reviews, and yet All Eyes on Me gets nothing but trash in the reviews? Anyone who rates this movie as good, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And all you're doing is contributing to the reason the film industry sucks so badly these days. Wow. Go to hell, the lot of you. Why
angry?
Why is one movie compared to the other in that sense? It's you can accept and appreciate something for it individually. So,
we had that kind of thing
lot
what was that? The Menu. Remember, there was like somebody just like pissing and moaning about the way the food looked and stuff. They gave the Menu a 1 because they were like, fucking
pretentious.
You want to see
it was
what
about
real
pretension.
food? Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Well, we've had another one that was like an alien movie or something we watched. I don't think it was Alien. Oh, maybe it was Alien, or it was a movie we watched that we were like,
they compared it to Star Wars.
Yeah, or something like that. God, you have to appreciate it for what it is. So anyway, that was weird.
Films, there can only be one film per genre, guys. Like that's what we have to understand.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently.
What was that other movie stuff? Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't. All Eyes on Me, and it looks like it's spelled like the Tupac album. So no, seriously, did Tupac make a companion film to his album All Eyes on Me?
I'm gonna Google it. Tasha, do your review, and then I'll look at this up.
Okay, 10 out of 10. Ignore the 1 to 2 star reviews. So there we go. The 5 and 6s are valid. Some people don't like horror, and that's cool. Okay, well, if you don't like horror, why are you watching this to begin with?
Well, because you should give everything a shot, realistically. I mean, I watch shit that I'm not necessarily into, just to give it a shot. Okay. Prime example. I watched Twilight when it came out because I wanted to see what all the hoopla was about.
And it's amazing.
It's a film. It's not the word.
I watch it every year.
It's nowhere near as bad as what some people would say and everything, but it's not what Steph's saying it is.
No, it's not great, but it's nostalgia for me and the girls. We watch it literally the entire series together at least once a year. So yeah, sorry.
So okay, going off on a tangent. So if knowing that you watched it, you watched Twilight knowing that it was probably something you wouldn't like, would you then feel compelled to write a review on it knowing that you went into it not liking it, or would it just be like, that's what it is, no, I'm not gonna bother?
No, like, I mean, if some people review everything they watch, like that's a whole hobby for some people, right? So going into I'm actually more forgiving of films if I have a feeling that it's not going to be my taste. Prime example of the inverse of that is
Avatar.
What?
You're not forgiving of that.
Well, that movie fucking sucked. Both. I won't even give the second one a shot because I watched the first one. I don't need to sit through another 3 hours of shit that I know that I'm not going to like.
But don't you want to know what the hoopla's all about, Nick?
Yeah.
No, I watched the first one. That's different. I didn't watch the second Twilight. Well, no,
yeah, that's true. The second Twilight is not very good. So.
Well, see,
but the last ones are better. No.
But no, what I was going to say, though, is like, if I hype something up really, like, oh, I'm going to fucking love this and go in, and it doesn't do what I want, I kind of feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Furiosa is a prime example. We went and saw that this past weekend. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that I fucking love Fury Road, and I held it to those expectations. Yeah. And that's what it was. But
it was
then,
good.
like, if I go in to watch Twilight, let's say, right? And I'm like, I know this isn't going to be for me, but who knows? Now, if it was still fucking dog shit, I'd give it a 1 out of 10. But I'm never going to watch it again on purpose. So it's probably like in the 3 or 4 category for me.
Oh, wow. All right, just curious. All right, I'm going to start over.
Okay. Yeah, start over. Sorry.
Ignore the 1 and 2 star reviews. The 5 and 6s are valid. Some people don't like horror, and that's cool. The 1s and 2s almost all reveal some racial motivations.
Yep.
The same type of thing you might remember from the latest Star Wars sequel. The ironic thing is that this is more than an indictment of the, quote, enlightened liberal. But that really isn't what makes this movie good. It is the quintessential, quote, good horror movie as opposed to the, quote, good movie that happens to be horror. For instance, Silence of the Lambs, Psycho, or even movies like The Babadook and Black Swan. Instead of attempting the drama as horror or serious socio-political allegory, this is a classic horror movie, done as well as it's ever been done. It embraces the hallmarks of the genre without being submerged by them, adhering to the classic formula close enough to avoid the, quote, mystery label. It's got its share of blood, but avoids relying on it.
Barely any.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
I'm gonna go tonight and just watch all the guts.
It had a good amount for me. It
Okay.
The right kind of amount of blood.
There weren't enough faces being smashed in for you.
It
Could not have been gory enough for you.
It was. I screamed. I yelled so loudly at one part. It's got its good share of blood, but avoids relying on it or devolving into torture porn. It's tongue-in-cheek, but doesn't devolve into a farce or parody. Amongst the best of the decade.
Okay.
So, there was something back there where it was talking about not just I can't remember if I'm paraphrasing what they said properly or if I misheard. Did they say that it's not just a good horror film, it's a good film? Is
Backwards.
that kind of what they said?
It's a good horror movie, not a good movie that could be considered horror.
See, I would actually kind of flip it. It's like it's a good movie, but for me, like as a horror fan, it just doesn't do. If I'm going into this expecting a horror film, it doesn't check a lot of those boxes. It's a good movie, but yeah, I would argue the inverse of that.
I guess if you're thinking about like subgenres, I see it more as like a psychological thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
or a psychological horror.
Yeah. Well, they brought up like Psycho, and they brought up Silence of the Lambs. I think both of those films are way more hitting the mark as a horror film. Now, this is the thing. This is where my skin color shows. I don't know the horrors of being a black person in that situation.
Correct.
So that's the big thing, because Jordan Peele said like he wanted to make a film that was from his perspective that he had never seen. Like he wanted to make a movie that is from the perspective of a black man being viewed by white people and stuff like that. So that was so that's where like starting up where I'm like, just some basic ass white dude, like don't at me and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going, I can 100% try to understand. But reading something is not living something. So
true.
Yeah.
I agree.
But not to get so somber and stuff like that.
But I think it's a good thing. Like this isn't something that, like you said, that you would consider horror based on your lived experience.
Correct.
That's
but like
needed. That's a good thing to note.
It's really weird though, because like this is what I kind of struggle with is it's because I think when we were watching it, Steph mentioned about like all the microaggressions and stuff that are kind of thrown throughout here and stuff. But at the end of the film, the thing that like we're already in spoiler territory, so I'm going to kind of blow it or whatever. We can still talk. It's not. Yes, it's racist, right? In the purest sense of the word. But it's not out of hatred. It's out of they're looking at these black people longingly, and they want them so they can be them, and it's so weird. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where the one guy says black is in fashion, like that whole kind of thing. It's really like that, but like that's the thing that kind of turns the narrative of the story or whatever, where the end of the film, when we get there, Jordan Peele had a very grim original ending for this film that I think it would have actually hit harder if it would have done that. But at the same time, we're in the business of making money. Yep. So you can't, especially in a film like this, you can't send people home fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I thought that it ended cleanly, probably too cleanly for horror movies. That's the reason why it didn't feel like necessarily a horror movie to me, because most of our horror movies, occasionally we do get like a clean ending, but this movie was way cleaner than I expected. And the comedy in this movie was mostly, I guess, and the people saying the quiet things out loud, which makes it really fucked up, but also something that you would use in comedy. And then also the friend, because I was laughing.
Lil Rel.
Oh my God, I love him. So he's in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, and that's where I recognized him from. He's a cop in that movie too, and he's a TSA agent in this one. And I was like, I love the way he speaks, and he's just so over the top and so fun, and I love his character. And I honestly don't know if this film would have been as successful or as enjoyable for me specifically if he wasn't in this movie, because the girlfriend, I understood like her intention and stuff, and which I actually did not see that part coming. Like where she ends up
going back, like talking about the girlfriend and stuff like that. That was one of the things that Jordan Peele pushed back on when I was talking about the trailers and stuff giving too much away. They wanted to show the key scene in the trailer.
Oh,
and like that's how much that they were pushing for. So when she's like got the keys and she's like, I can't let you go, they were about to fucking give up that. Like that's where like how like
why
trailers nowadays give you the fucking movie.
They
like,
do a lot of times.
It's ridiculous.
They do. Yeah. And this one, like with her, I didn't see, like, I honestly didn't see that coming, because if you look at her, and I was like, the whole time after I found out she was one of the bad guys in the movie, I was like rooting for her to die, like in the most worst, horrible ways, which she doesn't really. And I was kind of sad about that. But I can't even imagine. Like, I think that's where the horror piece comes in, where somebody literally brings a human back every time, once a year, to their family. From what it seems, the way they're playing it out, in order for them to basically take however they're doing it, take a piece of somebody. Yeah, they're auctioning off their bodies to then put somebody else's consciousness into them. And that's a white person that's like older or dying or whatever's going on. And it's really fucking disgusting. And that's where the horror piece comes in. But the rest of the movie was just like, the entire time I'm watching this, like, I am so fucking uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and this girlfriend, she's playing this part really, really well. And she obviously, when you come to the terms with it at the end, you're like, holy shit, she's been doing this and duping these people like as like a Black Widow, literally forever.
So Jordan Peele, when he was directing Allison Williams, the girl that played Rose, to think of her role as two completely separate characters.
Yeah.
There was Rose, Chris's fun and loyal girlfriend, and Roro, the cruel and heartless sociopath. He said he was mostly concerned with her ability to play both at the same time in the scene when she's on the phone with Rod.
Yeah.
In which she has to have Roro's face and mannerisms while sounding like Rose. Peele added that it was absolutely essential that the audience believe Rose and Chris are in love at the beginning of the movie without any suspicion otherwise. So like, yeah, if there was like a red flag early and stuff, you're gonna be like, oh, whatever. But yeah, like so long up until that key scene, you're like, it's everyone but her.
Yeah.
It's everyone but her. And then you find out like she's literally the bait. Mm-hmm. Like she is the knowing bait.
Yeah. And she's, like I said, she's the Black Widow. She's pulling them into her web and then handing them over to her family. And it's fucking disgusting. And like, it was just horrible in that way. And then, I liked the way this movie opened as well. It definitely had a cold open in terms of like, because we get those sometimes and sometimes we don't, and we did in this movie, and I really liked it. And then we get to see the guy in it later on, and I liked the visual of us understanding that this is the same person, and then being like, oh shit, then you know something's off, but you don't know what's off yet. And I kind of called the mom thing from like early on. That was just way too on the nose. Like, they were just playing into the fact that she does hypnotism too easily.
She's like half a second away from twirling a mustache through this film.
Yeah.
She's always just like, meh.
Well, her mustache is her teacup, right?
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and
which she stirs with a silver spoon, which is like supposed to be like privilege.
Yeah, well, that's what this whole thing is. Like, they have all this money, and then like both of the he's like their gardener or their groundskeeper, groundskeeper, and then their maid. You already know that's what makes this movie so uncomfortable, and it slowly peels back the layers. And
go ahead. So there's something really interesting about that. Okay, so the groundskeeper, right?
Yeah.
We later go on to find out that is Grandpa, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then he's like running through the yard and all this stuff. So Roman Armitage, that's Grandpa, never got over his defeat by Jesse Owens.
Oh.
So he continues to run in Walter's body. Director Jordan Peele confirmed in the DVD commentary that Walter/Roman would run at night attempting to improve his time, as he has seen when he's running directly at Chris.
Okay.
So
I didn't make that
that's
connection.
that.
I didn't either.
And then also when we meet, what's her name? Because that's, oh God, the
Our housekeeper.
the housekeeper
Georgina.
and stuff. Georgina, there you go. When we meet Georgina, they're talking about how like, oh yes, my mother loves this room. This is her favorite room, and blah blah blah. And that's also the time that so Grandma is Georgina. That's when you meet her. Like she's always in here and blah blah blah, and there she is.
Oh, okay.
So like, there's a lot of that. This film, I was saying this to Steph after we watched it. This film is really good for 2 watches. You watch it, you're like, oh shit, right on. Then you watch it again, and you pick up on all these things. This was probably like my 3rd or 4th time watching it. Beyond that second watch, it's just kind of like, okay, like it's not super, super deep for that kind of stuff, because it is kind of, for lack of a better term, one note. This is the thing happening, and then you just pick up on all the clues throughout it and stuff. But also, another side thing of that, so we've got the Armitage family, right? The last name Armitage is a homage to the 20th century horror writer H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
It's the last name of the protagonist in Lovecraft's story, the Dunwich Horror. So this movie deals with some kind of Lovecraftian, like crazy sci-fi horror-y stuff. So he was definitely influenced by that. And then on top of that, did you guys remember in this film, for some weird ass reason, you see like a knight's helmet in a car?
Yes.
Yes.
And there's no real explanation to
Right.
that.
It's at
in
the end
film.
of the movie when he's like getting ready to leave or something.
Yeah.
Yep. So what that is that Jordan Peele wrote like this huge backstory that's not meant to be in the movie, but
Okay.
it's like this history of the family, and their ancestors and like whatever you want to call it, like there's like a through line from the Knights Templar to this family.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's all of that, and that's what that helmet is. That is a Knights Templar Knights helmet that's in that, and that's what the son was wearing when he like got the guy at the very beginning. Like that's kind of what he does.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. So like, there's this huge backstory. The group of friends, they all belong to an ancient secret society descending from the Knights Templar, who are associated with the Holy Grail in popular culture. For centuries, they have been trying to seek eternal life promised by the Holy Grail, and finally achieved it with the coagula procedure. This also explains the significance of the knight's helmet Jeremy has in the opening scene where he abducts Andre.
Got it.
Yeah. It also makes sense by the party that they're having and the people that are part of it and like how they act. And then I didn't pick up on the stuff until Nick said it. I think this movie will be a really good second watch, because all the things that those people are saying to our main character that are very messed up are in the sense of that they want to buy him and they want to put their bodies into him. And that's why she's talking about his manhood and asking about if he knows how to golf and I know Tiger Woods, like totally very creepy, very uncomfortable.
But it also comes off like that fucking, that guy. It's like, oh, I've got black friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
That fucking
It does.
idea.
It does. And you don't really know what's happening other than something's off and all of that until you see his picture in that like gazebo, and they're all sitting there and they're like bidding on him. And they're calling it bingo. And then that's where you get that understanding of like, oh, they're actually here because she lures them back here every year, and that's why this is happening. And that was the aha moment for me. So all the stuff leading up to that, because I hadn't seen this yet, all of these things that these people are saying, I'm just like, what are you fucking doing? Why are you talking like that? That is horrible. You're a terrible human being. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was very vocal through this entire movie, let's just say. And I was just like throwing my hands up and being like, that's so racist. Don't talk like that. And so like all this stuff. And then eventually it makes sense as to why they're doing it, because they're I mean, not in a good way, but and then when we got a little bit further into the story, it definitely unfolded better. But I thought it was really well written in that sense, because you do peel the layers back. It's not all handed to you. So, well,
like with all of that kind of stuff going on in it, like that's where it's like it still is purely racist, but it's not like your grandpa's racist, you know, like it's not like, oh, we fucking need to kill him, you know, all that kind of stuff. It is still fucking disgusting and everything. But like talking about the bingo game, you know, there are quite a few different like slavery references in this movie. So the bingo game has some pretty overshared imagery with slave auctions, as do the leather bands in the chair. When Chris rips the stuffing out of the leather chair, it's literally being saved by picking cotton. Although most of the chairs were stuffed with polyester fibers these days, director Jordan Peele confirmed they made an armchair filled with cotton fibers to maintain the symbolism.
Okay.
So, but also, I didn't know this until I started researching it, and this is where like I'm just some white guy, and then you see it like, okay, so there's the scene earlier in the film where you know, Chris meets the family for the first time, and they're talking about hitting the deer, and then the dad just goes on this fucking tirade of hating deer.
Oh yeah, I saw that very much so. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make as like it. Yes, it does, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, like why it's so much. So Dean has a lot to say about how little he cares for deers and bucks. The phrase "black buck" was a racist slur in post-Reconstruction America for black men who refused to bow to white authority. So that is specifically what he's referring to, is he's talking about that. And it's just like, that's so like, that's awesome. Like we look at it and it's just like, oh, it's obviously he's talking about deer and black people. Like there it is. It's like, no. Yeah. It's got like, it's actually a lot darker and deeper than even that.
Well, I think that's a good explanation, though, as to why, as a white person, we go into this, because we don't have any of those experiences. Our ancestors don't have that. That's not part of our culture in terms of like us, like growing up, like we didn't live in that. And so like to learn about those things and hear about like that they literally had a term that they would use for people who were like this, you know, is fucking out of this world, and that's where I like watching this kind of stuff, because you get to learn.
It's not out of this world, it's out of our world.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, it's just crazy. Like, it's just crazy. So.
But, so I butchered the word earlier, and I'm going to butcher it again. The coagula.
You're right.
I believe is how it's pronounced.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
It's the mind transfer procedure in this film.
Yeah.
Right? It's Latin for "it joins." It is better known as one half of the alchemic maxim, solve et coagula. It separates and it joins, i.e. how alchemy transforms matter. And like the Night Helmet, it hints at the ancient roots of the unnamed Society of Body Snatchers.
Okay.
So, like, I remember, you know, watching this every single time, and it's like the coagula, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that even?
It's a crazy name.
Making like it makes me like it's so close to another word that like duodenum or some shit like that, and I'm just like, what the coagula? What? And then like researching, oh, okay, it's Latin. Fucking, of course it's Latin. Yeah. Goddamn Knights Templar and their Latin and their crazy ass white people parties, making fucking sex slaves.
Yeah.
Lil Rel kills me in this fucking film, because he has them pegged from the get-go.
Yes,
and
that's what makes him so cool.
Like, I just, you better not be going to that white bitch's house like all the fucking time.
Yep.
And that's like actually comes from like the idea of why this movie's called Get Out. Jordan Peele named this film Get Out and stuff because of black audiences always just seeing like a horror film and be like, don't be going in there, don't get out of there, like all that. And I'm like that sometimes too on certain films. I'm just like, no, why the fuck are you going in there? So it literally is there. And like so many times, what's his name? Rod, I believe, says it. And then I believe Andre's character says it to him, get out. Like, it's always directed directly at him. And I believe it's always from another black character saying it to him. Mm-hmm. It's always like, it's literally like the shared experience kind of thing amongst them.
There's a lot of that in Nope also. If you haven't seen it, like when they see the unidentified creature, it's just a lot like, nope. Like, it's so good.
Nope, we're not dealing with that.
Yeah. We're just gonna keep moving.
Is it also like that in Us, where they like see something and they're just like us?
I don't know. That's a really good movie.
They're both on the list. I don't know if we'll get to them this year or not. I can't remember. I don't have my fucking schedule in front of me. But they are on the list. They are. This is our first Jordan Peele film.
Yep. I liked it. It was good. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to bring this up earlier. So we were talking about that All Eyes on Me thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like it is Tupac, by the way.
Okay.
There was a movie that came out in 2017, which is around the time.
Yeah. The biopic.
Yeah, and it's drama, music based around Tupac. Yeah, so that's what it's about. So I think they were just talking about like his lived experiences in his movie versus this being another.
Well, okay, sure. Again,
know.
like literally, they're in that sense, they're just comparing two films that have black protagonists in it, and like I don't know if they're trying to be like, well, you know, whatever, but it's like you're literally just basing your comparison on skin color at that point.
Well, not necessarily. I haven't seen the movie, but if he dealt with a lot of things with white people and he was dealing with racism, it might have some kind of correlation where that's horrific in that movie, as well as the correlation is the horror in this movie, even though it's not a horror movie, it's a drama. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. It's like All Eyes on Me I have not seen it, but I'm considering when it came out and stuff, I'm 99% sure it's just another one of those like musician biopics.
Yeah,
like
I think
Rocket
from
Man
the sounds of it is. And I'm kind of surprised that Noelle hasn't seen this yet. Because I would totally watch this.
So that's why I'm saying, like, the only through line, like, you could have compared Get Out to a million other films.
Yeah.
And that's what they compare it to and stuff, and it's like...
well, it came out around the same time, too. I think that's a huge part of it, too, probably. And it isn't rated horribly, like they said. I mean, it's not rated great, but it's not like a 3 or something. I mean, it is a 5.9,
So here's a couple other things, though, that I didn't really 100% pick up on in the film, but it's things that like just stick out and you're like, why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. Right? So the whole smoking thing.
Yes,
right?
That was weird.
It's such a big deal, right?
Yeah, for what? Yeah,
it's because smoking deteriorates the body and they want the bodies in the best shape that they can be in.
Right.
Okay.
So that's like something like it never really clicked.
No.
I thought it was more of just a ruse. Mm-hmm. Like they found something and they were just going to use it against him kind of thing.
I thought they were just doing it so they could get him under hypnotism.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like but it's more than that. It's like they just don't want him to smoke because it makes the product less desirable.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that I was like, oh shit, okay. Like I thought it was just like we can use the smoking as a ruse, in a way to just get him hypnotized. And then the other one that it's a super cringy scene when they get pulled over. Well, not pulled over, but when the cop shows up.
Yeah, and he's asking for his ID.
And Rose is sticking up for him so much, and it's just like it feels so heavy-handed and stuff like that. Well, there's a reason for that, and it didn't click until I was researching and stuff. So she was arguing with the police officer about showing identification. She's avoiding a paper trail. had the cop run both their licenses, there would be a record that Chris and Rose were together before his eventual disappearance.
Yeah.
That didn't click. Like, because I just thought it was like that whole, like, I can't believe that they were hassling you because you're black. And I was like, that's pretty heavy-handed, like, kind of stuff. And it's like, no, there's actually a real reason. She's playing the part of being outraged, specifically, though, to cover their asses.
Clever.
Okay. Well, and she could just be making her own alibi in a weird way, because part of it was like, why is she calling? Because I was like, well, if you need any help, don't call the police and call this other number, the whatever. So she's like calling them. She didn't have to do anything. It wasn't like their car wasn't drivable. So like that was also something I was wondering. I was like, okay, so you hit a deer, your car's still drivable. The police is like, call this other thing. Like I don't know. That was really kind of, not that you shouldn't.
She probably called 911. She probably called 911. We're not even 100% sure she did. Chris could have, because
that's true.
So he's staring at this deer and stuff like that, and so his history with his mother and stuff is that he didn't call 911 and he waited. So the reason that this entire ordeal is happening at this very given moment, I think that he called.
Okay.
And because he didn't with his mom, and that's like when he's in the hypnotism, the therapy chair, hypnotism chair, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets brought up, which is a super, super intense scene.
Yeah.
When we get into that. And that was actually like one of the big things when Jordan Peele was casting for this role. I don't have his name right in front of me. What's his name?
Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya was basically brought in. He did that scene 3 times, and that teardrop fell almost on cue each time.
Wow.
And I believe I read he was the first person to audition for it, and he was like, "Nope, got it, done. We've got our lead."
That's amazing.
So he was like, it's very important that this scene plays out the way that he had it in his head. And it's really interesting too, that whole scene where it's very, it gets really trippy, where he goes into the, what do they call it? The
floor.
It's not the, well, no, it's they've got the sunken place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he goes into the sunken place. That is supposed to be, I don't have it in my notes. I heard this a long time ago from like an interview with Jordan Peele, where he was talking about that. That is how he has heard a lot of other black people and himself say that that's how it feels sometimes, like in America, where you are pushed back, like it's almost like disassociation, like you've just everything that's around you, and you are almost just watching what's happening to you, with no help, no way of getting help or anything. Like you see Chris like screaming into the void and stuff like that, and they're just like, whatever, and like just watching it fucking happen, being complacent, like being part of it and stuff like that. So I may be paraphrasing what he said. Like I said, I tried to refine that so I could quote him properly, and I couldn't, because it might have been on the commentary of the Blu-ray. I can't remember, but yeah, like that's why that is shot the way it is and everything. It's supposed to convey that, because without that, it's just like show dressing. It's like, oh, it's weird to be weird. It's like, no, it's supposed to be more. And like they explain that with the whole coagula thing and everything. It's like, you'll just be a passenger. Like I'll be taking over everything and all that. And even then, Stephen Root's character in this, when he wins the auction and stuff, he's like, he's a blind man and stuff. He's like, I don't fucking care what color you are and stuff like that. I just want those things you see through. And it's like, that's so fucking, like that scene right there, where he is talking to him through the TV, for me is the most sinister, dark scene in this film, because it's so like I said earlier, like the wool off the wolf, where it's just like, he's so nice and everything. Like, yeah, all this pomp and circumstance bullshit and everything. And I run this art gallery and all this shit. And it's like real personal. And then like once he wins him, he's just like, you're fucking mine. And it's just like, that's so fucking vile.
And it's just so transactional, like no feeling or anything involved with it.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay.
I did find something on Screen Rant about what you were talking about, the sunken place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what you got?
Really quick, it just says the sunken place in Get Out is a metaphor for the marginalization of Black voices in cinema and society as a whole. And it represents a state of powerlessness and oppression, illustrating the struggles faced by Black artists and storytellers.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you for finding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, if you just watch the movie and you don't think of anything beyond what's being shown to you, it's just like, oh, it's a neat little parlor trick. But it's like, it like literally means stuff. And that's where I was saying is like, there is like, it's not that I can see or even sympathize with like the racist people that are fucking like about this, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. However, I know that sounds bad. Hear me out.
Okay.
However, I can see somebody just like not actually liking this movie. Like, even like Tasha and I were talking about this a little bit off mic and everything, where just because it has like racial overtones, like not undertones, like overtones and stuff, and it has a lot of social commentary, just because of that stuff does not make it a good film. No different than it, just because of that, it doesn't make it a bad film. Some people can't break that though, when they have their own stigmas for certain things. But like, I can see somebody watching this and it just like, if I was not into, like more of the, I don't know, like nuanced kind of relationshipy kind of stuff in a film, you go into this expecting Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever, right? Because like at the time it comes out and everyone's like, oh my God, it's the greatest horror film ever made. Like we hear that every fucking film that comes out. It's always the greatest film ever, right? So you go into it and you're like, oh, fucking hype train, here we go, and stuff. And you watch it and be like, this fucking sucked. There was barely any blood. Even on Tasha's metric, there was barely any blood.
True.
Like, so it is more of an existential horror film because it is very much more about the feelings and stuff like that. Another time in this film that's very effective. This is like, okay, so hi, Nicholas here. Again, I'm going to say it, standard white guy. So I don't connect with a lot. I don't understand a lot of that underlying stuff without researching it, right? But the things that I can understand is like when he's just trying to get the fuck out of the house and he's asking Rose, please give me the fucking keys, please. Like, he is on the verge of a panic attack at that moment. And like, I can feel that. Like, so, like,
and just the awkward social situations, like, once again, but like from that point of it, I love movies like this where you're just uncomfortable from the get-go because there's something not quite right. So even looking at it just through my lens, that Stepford Wives, Don't Worry Darling, like everything seems perfect, but there's something underneath that's just gonna ruin everything. And I liked that, how it was done very, very well, where like you're just uncomfortable right out of the gate. Something's not quite right.
True.
Yeah.
I agree.
And go ahead.
No, I was just saying, are we ready to get to our reviews?
I don't know. Are you?
I think so.
Do you girls have anything else that you'd like to talk about?
We're not going to talk about the key through the hand, or the spoon through the hand, or the leg, all of the gore that was in the movie.
Honestly, I don't even remember most of that. I don't.
Okay. So all right, Steph's gonna take an exit, I guess. Tasha and I are gonna talk about this. We're gonna enlighten her,
I guess.
So.
I don't remember that so very much.
Okay, so we'll start with our first actual gore scene, the brain transference.
Yeah.
Right? So we get the scalp pulled off and thrown into the trash and everything, right? That's not that bad.
Not that bad, but it's still strange that like they're just completely discarding the other person's body.
Well, what else are they going to do? Because they're going to remove the brain and put it in the other one. They're not transferring Chris's brain into that body.
You're right. That was the weird part. For the longest time, I thought that Georgina and groundskeeper, I can't remember his name.
The
groundskeeper and the housekeeper.
Yes.
I thought they were hypnotized the whole time, and I also thought that like it was just hypnotism, mind control. Walter, thank you. I thought it was just mom doing stuff the whole time, basically up until that scene in the basement, really.
Okay.
So head comes off.
Yep, the top of the head comes off and all that stuff, which later, that's another thing, you go back through the film, that's where you realize the reason that Walter's wearing a hat and Georgina's wearing the wig and stuff is because there's a suture around their skull, like the crown of their head and stuff like that, which you find out later, but those are some other clues that you kind of pick up on more the next time you watch it.
I want to go off just a little bit because we didn't touch on the flash either. That one, knowing that it's not hypnosis, because that's why it leads to hypnosis. Like they're getting, a blast of light and then they're lucid. But if it's somebody else's brain and consciousness in them, where are they how is the actual person coming through?
How I look at it, and I didn't see anything that really explained it, but what makes sense to me is that if we're to say that we've got the driver of it, the white brain, right, in there, and then the black brain is behind it, the flash blinds the white brain, allowing the black brain to see through. So
there's two
for that
brains?
given moment.
Or it's two consciousness.
Well, no, because they say that we're going to have to leave a little bit of you in there.
Oh,
that's connected to the very bottom.
Well, they said you just basically live in that,
you live in there as a passenger.
Yeah,
like you'll like, so you're still in there as a passenger, but all the decision making, all the motor control, that's me, baby. So it's kind of what he says.
Okay, so it's like the consciousness is the person that's being embedded, but then the lizard brain is still there intact.
Kind of, yeah.
As the black person. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that part really threw me for a loop. I liked that was in there where like Logan is lucid and is like yelling at Chris to leave.
Yeah.
But it just didn't click as to how that made sense. I must have missed that part.
I wonder if they're pulling it somewhat from like the whole idea of people who have like dementia and stuff, where it's like they completely work differently on different times. Sometimes they're lucid and sometimes they're not. And maybe this is the trigger that, like the flash of light or something specific that like draws like them. And like some people who have dementia or whatever, they have the same thing where it's like they have a moment, something triggers in their brain, and then they come forward as themselves and not this other, because it's doing what it's doing. So I'm wondering if they tried to do a play on that or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because there was a time when Georgina was talking to Chris in his room. There was no flash, but that's when she cries, almost like her real person is coming through.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there.
It's there, just like stunted.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, well, obviously the hypnotism is there to keep it at bay.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling that if the coagula was done and then you never came back to the house, there would be some sort of altercation within the synapses and stuff like that. I feel that they have to keep coming back to like an oil change almost. Like we just got to keep on. If you had any problems, okay, we'll just keep going. Because that's how they view it. Is like, got some new wheels.
Yeah, because that's how Logan quote Andre was back to being Logan, was after going behind the screen with the mom.
Yeah. Oh, I feel much better now.
Yeah, so creepy.
So what is it like being a black person? I've had no problems. And instantly Chris is like, the fuck are you talking about? Well, like when he shows Rob the picture of him, it's like, yeah, that's Andre. You don't fucking look like that though. Like, I don't fucking know what. But yeah, so we got that little bit of the blood and stuff, and then the big the deer head through his face.
Yeah, it doesn't show a lot, like, though. It's like, it does, but it's not, like, grotesque, and it doesn't linger. I mean, this isn't Midsummer, so I don't know.
It shows it through the front, through the back, and then you see the back of his head as it's, like, gushing out the back of his neck.
For 3.2 seconds.
Which is perfect amount of time, because it was enough for me to go, oh my god!
I think Steph is asking for us to watch Hostel or something.
No, I don't necessarily want that.
Eyeballs getting plucked out.
Though. No, I don't. I just don't look at it as gore. Like, we already had this discussion.
You girls do not understand what gore is, I guess. Because, yes, it is gore, but also faces getting smashed in is gore.
It's gore,
it doesn't mean that it's a lot of gore. It is gore. But then, like later on when Chris is trying to get out of the house, the brother, fucking what's his nuts, is trying to put him in a chokehold and stuff like that. And now I remember this scene happening and Steph being like, why isn't he doesn't he have a knife in his hand or whatever?
Scissors or something, yeah,
doesn't he have that? Why isn't he using it? It's kind of a throwback to earlier in the movie when they're at the dinner table and stuff, and he's talking about jujitsu and how it's a chess game and all this stuff. He then literally just waits for him. Like he sees he's 3 steps ahead of him, so he's just waiting for him to be at the right spot because that's what he's going to do. He stabs him in the leg, and the house is starting to catch fire a little bit, and jumps out and drives away. Dude blows his own head off. Someone gets shot. Rose gets shot. Those parts aren't really that gory. They are they're violent, but they're not gory.
You didn't mention Mom getting was it the spoon or a knife through her hand? That was the one that had me gasping.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was like a little letter opener kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really, none of it. I'm completely desensitized. Like, it takes a lot for me to be like, oh my god.
That always gets me, man.
What, knife through the
when
hand
it
stuff
goes
is what does
stuff that goes straight through the hand, the foot, the neck.
Ooh, do I have a movie for you in February for Foreign Film February?
Oh, great,
ooh, baby. Said you like scissors going through hands. Well, I've got a film for you.
I could do without. It's just always very effective.
So, going back to so we're, at the crescendo, the end of the film, not the crescendo, basically the resolution, right? So the cop shows up. Well, it's not the cop, it's TSA, it's Rod here.
TS motherfucking A.
Yeah. Which he says he gets noticed at all airports by TSA agents and stuff like that, and they're always championing him.
That's great.
But in the original script, that was not going to be TSA. And there wasn't, I guess, probably not a lot of fucking comedy in this film, because how he had it was that a cop was going to show up and Chris was going to go to jail for killing all of them.
Yeah.
I wondered.
And that's how that film was going to end.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Jesus
Me too.
Christ, man. If that would have been the end, I am so about downer endings and stuff like that. But for this kind of it being a social commentary film and everything, it's just good Lord, man.
Well, it's not much. We watched the other movie.
It would hit harder, though. It would hit a lot harder. It would be do you fucking get it?
Yeah.
Because you see Rose's face change, where she's Roro, and then you see the flashing lights, and she's pleading at that point. Yeah.
Help. I'm a white girl in distress.
Her facial expressions throughout this movie are incredible. That scene that you had mentioned where she had to play both parts, facial expressions and then tone on the other end, was so effective, because that's just so chilling when you see just a robot, essentially.
Yep. And she's got the picture. She's some people have been oh, she's not that bad. She was, blah, blah, blah. And it's that bitch had the pictures of them over her bed. The pictures of all the different black people that she has brought here to do that are framed over her bed.
Yeah, I don't understand when she had time to do that, because they weren't there. I think
that's a different bedroom.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's a different bedroom altogether, I'm pretty sure. But she's doing some of the whitest shit I've ever seen, eating fucking Fruit Loops half and half while drinking milk out of a straw. I mean, I'm not even that fucking white.
That's how I eat dry cereal. But not with the milk.
Jesus
not with the
Christ.
milk on the side, but I bite Fruit Loops in half. So.
Listening to some 80s fucking pop. I can't even remember. I wish I could remember what the song was, because it's just, oh my God. So, but yeah. So I think that's about all I've got here.
Yeah.
Oh, don't yawn.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
The
I didn't
podcast
do
that
it
exciting?
I didn't do it in the thing. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
But you girls ready to get into our reviews?
Yeah.
But before that, I forgot to mention this earlier, so I'll mention it now. So to kind of give you like the idea of what was coming out at this time, we are getting like The Fate and the Furious and Despicable Me 3, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. So like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Okay.
Thor Ragnarok.
I love that movie.
Lots of superhero
movies.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then this film comes out and it does its business, and it did a lot.
Yeah.
It did a lot.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into our reviews.
Yes.
Who wants to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
I don't normally go first, but I'm going to. I don't have a lot to say other than it was a movie. I liked it. It was uncomfortable, and I would probably watch it again one more time just so I could pick up on all the Easter eggs that I missed, and try to kind of pull from what we talked about today so I could understand it a little bit more. I do think there's a lot more depth to this movie than you see on the surface, so I like that about it. I think it's very intentional, and I appreciated that. The humor in this made me laugh every single time. It was great, and I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was in the middle, so I'm going to give it a 6.5.
I'll go.
All right.
So, yeah, the first time I watched it, I fell asleep after the first time he went into the sunken place, and for whatever reason, I thought that was the end of the movie. I missed so much of the movie.
You did. Yeah.
It's like, all right, that was
a great movie.
That was a film.
Yeah.
That was a movie.
All right, well, now he's in the nothing forever. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I like it. I've seen most everything Jordan Peele's done. I really like his... I like his style, I suppose. I would watch it again. I like movies that have like that uncomfortable, like we've mentioned before. I didn't get it from the racial standpoint, but just that you come into something that seems so great, but you know something's going to go awry. I like movies that have that feeling through it. The twist was really, really good. I love a movie with a good twist. I also am giving it a 6.5.
Okay.
I've kind of spoke my opinion on it throughout the episode. I think it's a good movie. I do feel though it doesn't warrant multiple viewings. After 2 viewings, I think you're going to get about everything out of this, unless there's something that you fucking love about this. I think the average viewer, I would say watch it twice. If you like it the first time, just watch it again to pick up on all that other stuff. You'll be like, ooh, all right. The film that comes to mind that I compare it to with that kind of stuff is The Sixth Sense. Like once the twist has been revealed or whatever, it loses its wow power in that sense. But I'm not going to hold that against it. But this is probably a first that I can think of. I'm also giving this film a 6.5.
Oh wow!
So we don't even need to do the math.
Nope.
It's a 65%.
Yes, it is.
So you'll more than likely like this film. But there's going to be people that aren't going to dig it. Like I said, I can 100% understand people that don't like this film because they're sold a horror film and they don't think it's horror. I can get that.
Yeah.
What I won't stand by though is that it's like, why is it got to be? Why you got to bring politics into blah? Let's just shut the fuck up. Like, it's all that bullshit. Like,
yeah.
So that being said, it's let's talk about something that we want to champion, and then we'll get to homework.
Okay, that sounds great to me. Who wants to go first?
I think it's you.
Oh shit! God. Okay. First off, hold on today.
You asked. You get to answer it.
So I watched a show. I think it's on Peacock. It's called Wolf Like Me. I binge watched it, like legitimately start to finish. 2 seasons, no stop in between. I just laid in bed literally all fucking day long and watched the whole thing. And it has the guy, and I'm terrible with remembering actors and stuff, but it is a horror-based type show. I wouldn't say like completely horror, but it does have that element because obviously it's called Wolf Like Me. And it has the guy who plays Olaf as the main guy character. I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
there you go.
I thought
That's
was familiar.
him. Yeah, and then the
Isla Fisher.
Yep. Yep. And she's the main person in it. And I guess I can share it, but like, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's good. It's literally a shifter show that it deals with a lot of like interesting things. I don't even know. I don't want to spoil it for people who want to watch it. So I liked it. It's about a single
all the
dad.
previews for that show.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
it's not a secret. Okay. So she's a shifter and he's a single dad and they both have like this backstory with their partners and how they passed away. And then they just meet randomly it's really cute. It's almost like when this gets to me with like reading all the books that I do. It's like a fated mate story kind of, but they don't want to be. It's like they're like, no, go away, no, come back, no, and it's very good. I really liked it, and the second season was interesting. So, it's her kind of trying to hide her true nature, and it's got some humor in it because she has to lock herself under the full moon in the basement of her house, and she has to bring like all kinds of body parts and stuff from animals and like live animals because her wolf doesn't like eating things that aren't alive or recently alive or whatever. It's pretty funny in a lot of ways, but I liked it a lot. Like I was very surprised. I thought I wasn't going to even get into it because most of those shows sometimes don't really hit for me, but I really, really liked it. So I'm going to say Wolf Like Me on Peacock. Go watch it because I binge watched the entire 2 seasons. So, okay.
Mine is a docu-series that we watched last night, and kind of the same idea. I've binge watched it straight through. It's called Living Undocumented, and it's from 2019. It's on Netflix, and it follows undocumented immigrants in America after Trump changed the rules for immigration law. So before, like when Obama was in office, it was, like the ICE would come out, would like detain and deport criminals that were undocumented in the States. And then it flipped to anybody that was in the States undocumented. So there were people that had immigrated here in the 80s that were like political refugees that had to like go in every year to do a checkup or whatever, that were then, in some cases afraid that they were going to have to leave their entire household, leave their kids, leave their house, and get deported back to, and one of them, he was from Laos and had lived in the States since 86. And it followed him. So it followed people from, there was like an Israeli family, people from Honduras. So it followed people from all across the world and their life and like what they had to go through, either had to deport and then had to work their way back to the States to be with their family. There was one woman from, I want to say Colombia, who was deported with her 3-year-old son, and she was 36 weeks pregnant, trying to then get back to the States to be with her boyfriend to like have a life. So it's very, very good. It's very compelling. Like I said, it's on Netflix. I can't remember how many episodes it is, but each episode is about multiple people. So then you get kind of sucked into it because then it'll bring up a new family, and then the next episode follows that family a little bit more while going back to check in on another family. So, yeah, anyway, it's called Living Undocumented. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Cool.
That sounds good.
What was that on?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Right on. I read a couple books this past week. I'm only going to talk about one of them, though. I read Bind, Torture, Kill. The inside story of BTK, the serial killer next door. It's written by Roy Wetzel, Tim Potter, L. Kelly, and Hurst Slovenia, I believe. So the reason there's a lot of writers and stuff is this is written by I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, internet. It's written by the investigators, the news journalists and stuff that were covering all of this stuff at the time. And they all came together and put it all together. It's got like legit interviews with him and stuff like that they like from his like attorney and stuff like that. So it's BTK Killer is a serial killer that started in the 70s and didn't get fucking caught until the early 2000s. So fucking horrific serial killer. But I like true crime books and stuff like that when it's from the basically from, like, for lack of a better term, like the detective's point of view going through it. And then you can, it's just, I don't like it when it's like over like trying to be dark and brooding and stuff like that, because I've also like checked out some books that are like that, and I just fucking hate like that they're trying, it's already really grim and now you're just trying to like put a spin on it to make it dark. This isn't. It's very matter of fact, and like, this is what was going on and this is what we did, and it really goes into the nitty gritty of how they went about catching him and everything, which is super interesting to me. But I listened to the audiobook of it on Audible, and if you've got Audible, this is not a sponsored ad or anything like that, but Audible, if you'd like to throw us a sponsorship, that'd be fucking sweet. But if you have Audible, this one was free. This was a free audiobook.
This is in the Audible Plus?
Correct. Yeah, like I pay for a monthly subscription and I get like credits. This didn't cost credits or anything. This was just like a free standalone kind of thing. I think it took like 11 hours. It took me like 2 days at work to get through it and stuff. Super compelling, like really interesting. Last week I just kind of went through like a true crime kick. I'm in the middle of some other books right now and everything.
and TV shows, and he's going on this kick.
I every once in a while I'm just like, detectives now.
Yes.
And then I burn myself out and I'm good for a bit.
Yeah.
But that's my my championing. If you like true crime stuff and everything, and it doesn't get so over the top that like it doesn't glorify anything or anything like that. It does describe what he did, but not in a like gratuitous fashion, in a police documented fashion. Like, this is what happened, and it fucking sucks, but you know what, good, he's in prison now. So
Nick, have you heard of I'll Be Gone in the Dark?
No.
Patton Oswalt's wife wrote it.
Yeah, she's mentioned in this book because she helped with some of the stuff for this.
Well, if you're still into that true crime kick, it's about the East Area Rapist.
Oh, okay.
So, also very dark, but
correct. No, I'm sorry. That was the other book that I read, which was about the Golden State Killer, which is the East Area Rapist, which is the original Night Stalker.
Yep.
So yes, that's where it was. Sorry, yeah, that was the other one. I believe that one was called Evil Has a Name. That one, I don't even know if it's a book. It's more like listening to a show on like old school A&E where it's just a bunch of interviews.
Nice.
The thing that's really interesting, that one did cost money. The thing that is interesting about that though is that goes from, the 70s and all that stuff. And I was explaining this to Steph, how fucking crazy how long it took to get this guy.
They did it just like 3 years ago he was caught?
2017, I think.
It's been that long ago?
Wow. I think so. I think that's right. 2017, 2018. Anyway, he was like a burglar first, got away with like 100 burglaries, 100 like breaking and entering burglaries. Then as the East Area Rapist, got away with 50 fucking rapes. Then as the fucking Golden State Killer, and got away. They ended up catching him, but then like killed, I think it was like 13 people or some shit like that. And then he stopped forever, and it took forever to catch this guy. So, what's really interesting though about that like audio drama, it's not an audio drama. I don't know what you would even consider it. It's like listening to a documentary
So it's a podcast.
Well, yeah, kind of. That is kind of how it's set up.
Cool.
But it's interviews with like the police, survivors from the stuff that happened and everything. So it's really interesting. But yeah, those are the two. I wasn't going to bring that one up, but since you kind of, it's all good. But all right, on to homework.
Okay.
Next week, we are going to be watching a movie that I've never seen. I don't think Steph's ever seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, Tasha.
I don't think so.
We're going to be watching Jennifer's Body.
Oh, nope, never seen it.
You sound so excited.
I've seen the cover. It doesn't look.
I know Megan Fox is in it.
Yep.
I think Diablo Cody wrote it.
I don't know who that is.
I think. I believe she's the one that wrote Juno.
Okay. I like Juno.
And stuff. So
the topic came up. We were literally sitting in the Aldi parking lot, and we're getting ready to go grocery shopping. And I'm like, Pride Month's coming up, and I'm like, I wonder, just the top of my head, wonder if we could, if there was any like specific LGBTQIA styled horror movies. And Nick's like, I don't know, I've never heard of one. So we did some Google searching, and he was like, this movie says it kind of might have it. We don't know for sure. We have no idea.
I know the big thing is like, I know that it was kind of like panned when it came out and stuff, but for some reason the last few years it's actually been getting its flowers.
Okay.
So that was kind of my reasoning for pushing this one forward. Was like you brought to the table that, and I was like, I don't want to just cover it just because there's a gay person in it. That doesn't make sense. But if this film happens to be, queer centric or whatever, the internet says it is, but it's also like a lot of people are like really liking it now. So that was kind of my reason.
Yeah, I just wanted to see it if I could find a horror movie that my lesbian daughter hasn't seen. So then I can watch it and be like, I saw one, and then you can watch it too. So yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew I've heard of it, but I have definitely not seen it.
My reasoning for never watching it was because Megan Fox is in it.
Yeah.
And I've seen her, and this is from like horror people, like whatever the fuck that means. That it's really good. Like, I'm not trying to overhype anything, but like I'd heard from quote unquote reputable sources and stuff that it's like, no, when it came out, it got shat on for the same reason that I didn't see it, because Megan Fox is in it. And it's like, if you remove your blinders from that, it's actually really good. I was like, oh, okay, right on, cool. I guess I definitely judged a book by its cover. So we'll find out. Maybe I was right. Maybe I'm wrong.
And Megan Fox, like as a human, is a really smart woman. I think she just kind of got the short end of the stick in a lot of like casting and direction. So
yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things. Like she kind of gets the same treatment as Paris Hilton. Prime comparison, where they're both beautiful women in the spotlight and they play the part, because like Paris Hilton is not a dumb fucking person.
Not at all.
It's
like she's
very
actually
good.
But like they played the part too well.
Yeah.
That everyone expects this out of them. Now my thing was just like a selling point of a film. Megan Fox is in it. It's like, I don't care. That doesn't sell to me, so I'm gonna watch all this other stuff. But I guess a lot of people were instantly like, fuck her, and I'm just like, I can't. Outside of Transformers, I don't know if I've ever seen anything else she's in. Oh yeah, she was in that. She was in a Machine Gun Kelly video, because Sydney, she's gonna hate this. Sydney really liked Machine Gun Kelly for a minute, and now the internet knows that.
Okay.
So for Pod of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.